again. Think about the power that we've already given to the government just in the past few months. Just this week, the Obama administration announced a new paymaster. The paymaster that will decide who gets paid what, in what way, in what time, for 7 corporations in which the government has taken a stake. Now, no one is happy that the government has had to step in and provide capital to these companies. And as a member of the oversight panel, I anticipate and I want to see the various companies that have received funding under CARP return those funds quickly and have that money be used to pay down debt and reduce the amount of the $700 billion that was provided, and not have the government look for new ways, creative ways to spend that money in areas for which it wasn't intended. So no one is happy that the government has had to provide capital, but that really shouldn't be an excuse for suddenly having some government bureaucrat setting pay across the country. And don't think for a moment that this is just about setting pay for a couple of executives, because whether you're a bit large or small business, what happens at the top sets the tone for everyone else in the company. And what happens at a couple of companies often sets the tone for others in the industry. Only bad things can come from the federal government or some government bureaucrat telling you or anyone else how much or how little your pay has to be. So we've got a paymaster now, a federal government paymaster. We have the federal government telling the car manufacturers what kind of cars to build. Now, what if you work at mining coal, building railroad cars, building furniture? Do we want the federal government telling you what kind of furniture you need to make, how to sell goods in your store, what kind of appliances? Well, we have the federal government now telling the automakers what kind of cars they should make. Paymaster, they're designing cars, and of course with the carbon tax bill, we're going to be effectively telling businesses, states, counties, how to generate electricity. Here's how you can generate electricity, and here are the ways in which you're not allowed to generate electricity. This is an unprecedented level of intervention in our markets, all of it taking place really in just the past 5 or 6 months. So don't let anyone tell you that your concerns about government control or intervention, taking power away from communities or individuals, is a dream, because unfortunately it is happening today. And these things have genuine implications and unintended implications. Let me give you one example. It's just discussed in the news today. In the Chrysler bankruptcy, they had a government panel that came in and basically forced a settlement on the participants. Instead of going through the courts, through traditional bankruptcy court, government got involved and decided what the settlement would be. Not surprisingly, the bondholders, in this case, and the unions were 2 of the biggest creditors. The creditors have lists of claims, legitimate claims, contractual claims on the finances. The bondholders got about 29 cents on the dollar. The unions got over 100% on the dollar. And now the unions own 55% of Chrysler. Now, you and I may not be happy with that. We may not think that's fair. We may not think that's just. That's a problem in and of itself. But here's another problem. There's a bankruptcy judge now looking at the bankruptcy of an NHL hockey team in Phoenix. Pretty far removed from here. I don't imagine this is a hockey town right here. Maybe, but I don't imagine it is. So it seems pretty far removed. But what the judge is looking at is the precedent of the Chrysler bankruptcy. and considering using that precedent to squeeze the bondholders to a much greater extent than would have been done in the past, because that's the way they did it in Chrysler. Well, that would be too bad for the bondholders of that hockey team. And we might think, well, that's that. But what does it really mean? It means that everyone else who would provide bonds and debt financing to any business in America is now going to charge a higher interest rate because there's more risk. Because now there's the precedent that if you have bonds, if you lend someone money to a company, large or small, it could be to build a McDonald's franchise or a Holiday Inn or build a furniture manufacturer. It doesn't matter what the business endeavor, but if you're lending money, you're going to charge a higher interest rate. So this precedent, what the United States government did, runs the risk of raising interest rates for every entrepreneur and business person in America. That's the danger of government intervention. That's the danger of unintended consequences, and we should never ever forget it. Republicans believe in the individual. We believe in the power of the individual and the right of the individual. Now, it's so fashionable now to say, well, free markets didn't work because of some of the problems that we saw. And there were clearly bad actors, people who broke the law that should go to jail. There were regulators who didn't do their job that should be held accountable. There were financiers, people on Wall Street that were greedy and should be held responsible, certainly morally and legally, for their own actions.